Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Movies. This is episode number 3, which that's what it should say on the title. I left off the 3, so I'll fix that. But yeah, we are going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. We've been kind of going down this Indiana Jones rabbit hole, or going on the Indiana Jones train, whatever you want to call it, and I'm excited too because our first episode we just happened to randomly spin Raiders of the Lost Ark, and so we thought, why not? Let's just review the first 3, and then eventually want to do a review of Dial of Destiny once that comes out, and we'll see if we ever get around to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We probably we have tournament fights. Slowly getting toward 2008. Maybe that's a chance to just talk about it then. But I am your host, Jordan, the Movie Hero Anderson, and I'm joined by a couple guys here. I got my usual co-host, Austin Pez Howe. What's up, Austin?
What's up? No, ready to talk about my favorite of the series. Let's do it.
Nice. Yeah, and then we got Richie, who's been watching for the first time, so it's been fun to get his opinion on him seeing it for the first time. But what's up, Richie?
No, looking forward to talking about it. This is
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I'm to get around to watching it.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just gonna kind of just start off with like I did the last couple of episodes, just a couple of general facts about the movie. So Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is released on June 24th, 1989. It's directed again by Steven Spielberg with basically the whole entire crew returning, same writing team, same producing team, all of that, except for Lawrence Kasdan. I had it wrong last time. I thought that he was involved in the writing for Temple of Doom, but I think it's just Raiders that he was involved with. And this movie, it's set 2 years after Raiders of the Lost Ark, so it's set in 1938, so just 1 year before World War II. So, but yeah, can I jump into it? So,
Richie, why don't we just get your quick first impressions of the movie, since you're the kind of the newbie fan of the series?
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan and I both love this movie, obviously, but so we will go into it specifically. But you're the newbie, so your quick kind of first impressions coming off of it.
Yeah, I think that's Well, I think this is definitely the most. I have to think about which is the one I like the best, but this is definitely the most sort of entertaining, and certainly in terms of like character work. Like, it's still good. There's still like stuff you like with like in terms of great stunt work and great effects in that realm, and it's sort of breathtaking stunt work in that regard. But like, I think sort of the quality in this film lies within like the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery, and that general the sort of emotional beats there, and the character development there, and and I just think it's definitely more like sort of humorous as well, and I think it's an entertaining ride. So, but I don't know where I rank it, but I definitely really like this one a lot. So I think it's really good.
It'd be hard to ask you, like, just coming off of them for the first time, where you would rank them. I think it would probably come in time with you maybe rewatching one here or there, or just which one kind of sticks in your brain over time. You know what I mean? Like, coming off them trying to be like, I don't know which one I like the most. Like, now, me personally, I've said this before, but I think my favorite one has changed over the years depending on my age. Because when I was a kid, I liked Temple of Doom the most because it had short round. It was a little more colorful. Like, it was a little scary at times, but I like the minecart stuff and all that stuff when I was a kid. Then it's like I'm a teenager and I'm in my 20s and I'm getting into movies, so I'm like, Raiders is definitely the best one. It's like a perfect movie, and it's like my favorite one. It's the best. And then, like, now that I'm older and I'm almost the same age as Indiana Jones canonically is supposed to be in this movie, he's canonically like 39 in this movie. And Sean Connery's about the age that my dad is right now. I think I connected this one a little bit more, with him running around with his dad. So, and the father-son stuff kind of clicks with me more as an older person. So that's why this one's kind of my current favorite. That could change again, years down the line. But I mean, it's changed over.
They're all favorite, but this is the current favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it's like another favorite, but not as much.
Yeah,
favorite.
right. Not as much favorite. Yeah.
Jordan, you remember the first time you saw this movie, or how you came to it?
So I'm thinking back to to when I probably saw it, I probably just saw it at home with my parents, honestly, because first time that I watched it was just with them as a little kid. So I think we just kind of watched it like roughly like not too long after they were released on VHS, and I think that the Last Crusade, it's my second favorite because Raiders will always hold a special place for me, but like they're just neck and neck. There's like parts of this though that I love even more than some of the things that they do in Raiders too. Like I like that this movie kind of feels like he's like really like traversing the globe, because you go from like Utah at the beginning, then you go to the university, and you go over to Italy, then they're going to Austria, they go to Turkey, they go all over the place in this movie. So yeah, so it's a good time.
Yeah, well, let's get into the actual movie and talk about some of the scenes in general. And yeah, you have to kind of start with where the movie starts, which is this prologue sequence with a young Indiana Jones played by River Phoenix. Yeah,
yeah.
And, the late great River Phoenix, we should say, unfortunately, who I think had a hell of a career ahead of him. We definitely could say, and of course died way too young.
Way too young.
Because man, that guy's a star, man. You watch the scene and it's like I could have watched
so good.
I could have watched the whole movie of River Phoenix as this Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? Like if the whole movie had just been this, I would have bought it. I'd watch a whole movie with him. You know, running around 1912. You know, with the Boy Scouts or whatever. Because this scene's fantastic. Yeah, Richie, what'd you think of this prologue overall? I know you probably heard about it. You know, River Phoenix playing him, but yeah, what do you think about this whole sequence?
Yeah, I mean, this was like there's a few scenes that stuck out that I've seen in other clips elsewhere, but yeah, and like this was one of them. But yeah, it was a great prologue. Fortunately, I haven't had a chance to see much of I know how good like River Phoenix was and how highly touted he was for his passing, but yeah, I hadn't had a chance to see much of his work other than something like Stand By Me, but but yeah, he was really good, and yeah, I could have watched this. I could have watched a young Indiana. If you wanted to, if this is just the movie, that'd be cool. If you wanted to, if Harrison Ford wanted to take the movie off and then come back later, that'd be fine. But yeah, this is great. This is a great prologue. Yeah, it was just I think the sort of one one thing that stands out in all these indie movies, he Spielberg knows how to do an opening scene.
This off with a bang.
Yeah, this prologue is great. I really dug it. But yeah, it's probably the best opening out of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they're what I like about it is they're very different openings because Raiders has the hunting, going through the cave opening, looking for the idol, and then the Temple of Doom has the James Bond, opening with the white suit, and the numbers and all that, and that one's fun. And yeah, this one we dive into a whole prologue thing where Phoenix has some great character moments without feeling too on the nose. It's like it's fun to see him. The beginning of it going like it's only a snake, and then him falling in the actual snake pit, and that's where he gets his fear of snakes from. Which obviously that's any kind of nightmare scenario, being in a pit of snakes, literally, and getting the scar which is the Harrison Ford scar on his chin from a car accident he had when he was younger, and them using like the whip thing to kind of give him the scar, which is pretty cool. And I think he got the mannerisms down pretty well. So yeah, Gordon.
Well, River Phoenix, the couple of movies I know him from is a movie that we're going to talk about next week for Tournament Fights. Best Movies with a state in the title. He was in My Own Private Idaho. He was in that movie with Keanu Reeves. But then he was also in The Mosquito Coast with Harrison Ford again. So
yeah,
those are probably the two main things that I know him from. So yeah, he didn't really have a long career. Unfortunately, he passed away. But man, he was great. Just imagine if he would have lived longer and like what kind of career he would have had. He would have been like a Joaquin Phoenix, just like his brother, like that kind of type.
Oh yeah, no, they could have been like the Phoenix brothers in Hollywood, just doing great movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they would have been great. And but yeah, I love the way the sequence ends with the transition with the guy in the credits. He's literally listed as Fedora. That's his name.
Yeah, Fedora.
But because he doesn't really have a full name. But and the other guy is Panama Hat, the guy with the white suit and white hat.
Yeah.
That he catches up to later. But again, this movie has a lot of great sort of transitional shots, and I think the transitional shot of the fedora guy going, and it's a great line too, of just you lost today, kid, but it doesn't mean you have to like it. And he puts the hat on him, and like he lowers it down, and he open it back up, and it's Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones back. It's a great transition, just a great cut.
Yeah.
Like, I love that stuff.
Yeah,
and also like I like that like when it opens up, you think that the other guy, the fedora, that's Indiana Jones for a second, and it kind of throws you off if you're not super familiar, and then you're like, wait a minute, no, this is actually a flashback, and then you have River Phoenix playing him there, so like it's almost kind of like a fake out, because the guy almost looks like he could be like an Indiana Jones.
He's very close. Yeah, he looks a lot
Yeah.
like him. He's got like the same kind of jacket on, and obviously the same hat because he would keep it. But yeah, that guy's great. It's these little characters that I think these actors make the most of their little appearances. And you almost would want to see. Like I said, you could see more of him. I would have liked to see more of that guy, but they give you just enough to kind of make it intriguing. But yeah, we cut to the actual. That ship sequence, on the literal Coronado, as he ends up calling his ship the Coronado.
Yeah, he's still going up to
that cross
the Coronado. Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of have this, it's a quick little sequence, but him, out on the seas, and I love them just getting slammed around by the waves and stuff. It's really fun. So yeah, it's a good little transition. Because it's like still technically part of the opening, so you get some of River Phoenix and a little bit of Harrison Ford at the beginning.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the more memorable opening, and I think I just think like we'll get to it, but in terms of character work, this was a better one in terms of character work. Just memorable scenes with characters. I think this is a better one.
Well, I was going to mention too that guy, just to go back to the fedora guy. It's a little fun fact. They were going to make him the character Abner Ravenwood, which would have been the father of Marion Ravenwood. Like, why didn't they do that? That would have been cool, but they just went with a fedora. They just kind of like a generic.
I think it's better. It's just this one guy that he remembers from his life that gave him this hat, like just this one mini adventure of his life, that stuck out with him, and they coming back around, with the same cross, like, and them literally saying you've been looking, because he does it, he gets it taken back from him, but and getting it back years later, once he's an experienced, obtainer of rare antiquities, as they call him.
Yeah, and he's been looking at his entire life for, is what he says. So like,
it's the one thing that got away, essentially. But but like you said, with character work, we get a lot more of Marcus Brody in this movie, to where he gets to tag along with Indy for a little while. That's cool. Fun. We get a lot more Sala. Some of these other characters that we saw in Raiders, we didn't get a chance to really hang out with them too much. But yeah, we kind of quickly after that introduce our villain of the movie that isn't villainous at the beginning, but you have a feeling that he's going to be. We get Julian Glover as Walter Donovan, who if he looks familiar, it's because he was in Empire Strikes Back as the guy who was driving the AT-AT in the Hoth battle. He was the guy. The chute will be down in a moment, elevator. You may start your landing party. That guy. He's another kind of rich antique collector dude, and basically you get the kind of exposition dump here and sending him off to go find the Holy Grail. Not Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but just to go find the actual Holy Grail. But Richie, what do you think of Julian Glover in this movie? Walter Donovan as a villain.
He's got it. I mean, like, there's a lot of I figured as it went on, when there was no sort of as went on, then there was no like sort of established villain at this time, except for like the general Nazi, general Nazis. So I was like, someone to go like wrestling terminology, someone's going to turn heel at some point. And there's a couple of heel turns, or one's more about 20, but we'll get to that eventually. I thought he did pretty well. Probably honestly, still my favorite villain is from Paul Freeman from Raiders, just because how like cartoony and over the top he was, I really liked it. But I thought he was an effective villain though, and I liked him. I like, is it did you say Marcus? That was it. the was it Marcus or the other guy you were mentioning before, the guy he
Marcus is his professor, the dean that tags along
yeah,
with
yeah,
him.
yeah. But yeah, I did. We'll get to it. But then, funny scene was like when he was sort of he lied to make it sound like the Marcus is a step ahead of you. He knows all the 10,
He speaks
100
a dozen languages. He knows
knows
somebody
yeah.
in every town from here to Marrakesh.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
they cut to him.
And
And
then-
does anybody speak English around here?
Yeah.
Immediately transitions to go, hey, Aaron speaking English. Hello.
Oh no, anybody understand a word I'm saying? Yeah, no, it's one of the great, it's one of the great cuts and transitions ever. It's such a brilliant cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. We'll get to that stuff in a little bit, but go ahead, Jordan. Sorry, about Julian.
I was gonna say that like you see Indy like he brings the cross back to the college to Brody, and then you see Indy kind of building a bit of a reputation now that he's gone out on some adventures. So there's people lining at his door. I don't know if they're asking for autographs or like what they're like doing, but they're like
he's
waiting
behind on his work. He's like he hasn't graded papers. He hasn't even
that
taught a damn class because and literally, if you go according to this movie, he goes right back out for another adventure. So he's missing even more classes and more papers and all this stuff because he literally takes because Donovan sends him off on this mission pretty much immediately. So he comes
literally has
back
to sneak out a window to like get out of there, and then
everybody's just trying to catch up on the school stuff that he's missed doing all these adventures.
Right.
That's what it is.
And then I guess the like henchmen come in and like take him over to Donovan's house. They kidnap him and take him over there, and then he's trying to get him to go on the next adventure. And he's like, "You should try my father because he's the guy that's in that's like essentially is in charge of the search for the Holy Grail." And just going back to the opening scene, just real quick, is that like you find out that his house is like not too far from where that whole train sequence takes place, and you kind of get a little glimpse of Sean Connery. You don't really see his face, but he like comes in and I forget what he says, but he says somebody's like in Latin, please. And he
goes count it. Anytime he comes in, he's hooping and hollering about something. He tells him to count to 20. So he starts counting, and he goes in Greek, and so he has to count in Greek. And then he's doing work on his diary, which we'll see more later. Which the diary is kind of like the MacGuffin of the movie that everybody's kind of chasing after is his Grail diary.
So they're all kind of going after that,
and the map inside of it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, essentially. So everybody's kind of jumping around trying to grab this Grail diary. But yeah, we jump to Italy, and we get to meet Elsa Schneider, Alison Duty, who was only 21 in this movie. She looks like she's in her 30s in this movie.
Yeah, she looks way older.
She looks way older, but I guess she's just kind of playing older. But yeah, we get Elsa, who's definitely an interesting character, and we'll get Richie's thoughts on her when we get back. But when he gets back, but yeah, she's an interesting character, because she starts out as this. You think she's going to be this like love interest protagonist, and she kind of is, for these initial scene. She's got
some moments,
Yeah, they got their flirtation going on, and we find out that she was kind of tagging along with Henry Jones in this quest, and they kind of hit a dead end, at the library, and they kind of pick up the trail. So.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, Richie. We were just going to talk about what do you think of Elsa Schneider, the sort of kind of love interest, but then not because she because she has a heel turn, and she's actually
and then she's kind of a tweener, and then it's like, oh, what? Yeah, anyway.
And then she tries to do the babyface turn at the end again, like the double turn, and then she pays for her crime. So she's the one sort of love interest out of the three. And again, with this trilogy, each one is different because we have Marion Ravenwood, who kind of is the angry love interest, but she stands up for herself. Then we have the damsel in distress with Kate Capshaw, and then this one's literally kind of starts. You think she's going to be the love interest, but it's different. She becomes kind of a villain. So it's interesting.
I would say you've got Karen Allen, who's I think more probably when you get boiled down to it, probably more suited for indie, just kind of more of indies,
more indie speed,
Kate Capshaw, who's probably admittedly like they even admit at the end, it's like we're probably not going to be right for each other. And then this one, obviously, we they don't have a future because of what we'll get to. But so I do like how they're all different. It at least explains it. So like it does sort of it's funny how like because of how Sean Connery is in it, it does sort of kind of play on that Bond trope of having a different woman in each
Yeah.
in each movie, but like but at least that they've got different sort of they've got different reasons for being, different traits. It's not just you're there to be you're there to be the eye candy for Indiana Jones sort of thing. But it was funny how like like they're having like this the scene that would have like they used to do this in movies a few times, like I guess for comedic effect. And I remember them doing it. I think it was in Lethal Weapon 2 or 3. Where that their characters having like this petty argument or something, and they just in the middle of the argument they just start kissing. Just like
Yeah.
Right.
it's like okay, I don't know how it works in real life. But I think you'd probably get slapped and probably get
Well, and she does the whole like, "How dare you kiss me?" and then grabs him and immediately starts
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
it's that
kisses
like
him.
it's that like angry flirtation, like "How dare you?" But like she's
Yeah.
into the bad boy. But again, it's all
But
sort
she
of
likes it.
it's all sort of a ploy as well, as we kind of find out, to kind of gain his trust and stuff. I think
Well,
too, a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Well, I kind of like it that Indiana Jones doesn't have like a straight up love interest, because that way you can focus more on like the father son relationship
Mhm.
and like not like focus as much on that, but you get a little bit of it. So I mean, but it's
Well,
not like
him and his
drama.
dad kind of argue through the movie like an old married couple, and have that chemistry. I'm just like, Dad, come on,
Yeah.
let's go. Like, what are we doing? Like, Dad, what are you doing? Like, oh my God, I'm just like, I'm not used to this sort of thing. Well, it happens to me all the time. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
they're
right.
relatively good. You get to focus a little bit more on that. But yeah, before we get there, we have both the library sequence, which is kind of like the indie,
Yeah.
figuring out stuff sequence, sort of like the opening of Raiders, just kind of more in the beginning of the second act in this movie, of kind of finding this tomb. I love the little callback moment when they're passing all the little engravings and there's a thing of the Ark on the wall, and she's like,
Oh yeah.
"What's that?" And he's like, "The Ark of the Covenant." She goes, "You sure?" And he goes, "Yeah, pretty sure." They even play a little bit of the Ark music, like it's a great little callback. Like it's just a nice little callback, and yeah, and they end up finding a thing, and then it kind of leads into this boat chase action sequence with the Crucible Sword guys.
Well, I like the like some of the like humor. Like this movie has really good humor without it feeling kind of forced, because when he's like trying to find where to start digging, and he's like X never marks the spot, and that because like he doesn't believe it, and then he just looks and there's a giant X on the floor. So then he goes to start digging. You got the guy with like the stamp, and every time that he like digs, he's like chunk.
Yeah.
Chung, like the librarian guy or whatever, just doing that. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
And also too, like when they go into the kind of catacomb thing, like the first time, isn't this where we like see him down there with all the rats and all that stuff?
Yeah, no, and that's
Yeah.
and that's the one thing that again I applaud them for doing this with these older movies, is that there's a lot of these real sets. They're walking around these real catacomb sets that they built for this thing, and they're real rats. They're not CGI rats as they probably would do now. They probably do thousands of CGI rats, but they bred 2,000 rats for this movie just for this.
Yeah, they actually bred rats for this movie.
They bred rats, which is insane. They had to breed them because you don't want to bring in outside rats and risk spreading some kind of infection or disease or something if one of the rats was infected with something. So they had to literally just pure breed 2,000 rats with the animal guys in advance, like 6 months in advance or something of this movie, which is kind of crazy. But again, that's what makes it fun, is they're walking around that sequence and there's real rats crawling on them and crawling around their feet. And again, we were talking about, Richie, how again nowadays they would just do CGI rats, and they have real rats running around this little sequence in these real sets. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I guess they could bring diseases and stuff, but I don't know why obviously I know why you probably use like CGI snakes or whatever, but rats, I feel like you could still use a rats.
Yeah. Or what reminds me of when I used to volunteer at a zoo, and they'd have us go in the reptile room and feed all the snakes, and they'd have us like go to these big things with like a whole bunch of rats. We have to pick up rats and they literally feed them to the snakes, and then they had us clean out the rat cages. That was part of it too. So yeah, it is kind of interesting. But like the thing is, like with the three movies though, so like Raiders has snakes, then Temple of Doom is bugs, and then Last Crusade is rats.
Yeah, again, something memorable for each one that distinguishes them from each thing. You know what I mean? It's great. Like even just the little differences. But yeah, and then you get yeah, you get this boat chase sequence with the Crucible sword guys, and it's a fun little boat chase, around Italy. You got some fun little bits in there with the guy, getting stuck, them saying, don't go between them. You go between them. Are you crazy? And they go between the boats, and the other guys.
Oh yeah, between the boats,
stuck and blown up, and they get shot down, and then there's the whole like it kind of concludes with that big sequence with the propeller blades, and then kind of
big propeller literally chopping the boat up.
My soul is prepared. How was yours? It's a great little face off. Like I really like that stuff.
I want to see a spin off of the Crucible Sword guys.
They feel, what they feel like? They feel like the Magi and the Mummy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
these guys who are protecting the Holy Grail. You know how like the Magi are protecting the tombs in those movies. It's interesting. They definitely have. Well, and it's fun, because you get enough to tease you, but not too much. You know what I mean? They don't sit there and explain everything. You just get that, okay, there's these kind of guys who are just trying to stop people from getting to the Grail, but then he realizes Indiana Jones, he's not really looking for the Grail. Like he kind of is, but not really. He's more interested in finding his dad. And then it's like, but they realize quickly he's not like one of the bad guys, looking for this thing. And it's like, okay, maybe we'll kind of just keep trailing. Because then you see him later with the king guy and Hatay or whatever. He's like in the background of that scene, like kind of watching them, and then they have an ambush, obviously. But it's fun. They're kind of like the Magi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I think after that we go over to like where they're in like a big castle or something like that.
The castle of Grunwald on the Austrian-German border. And that's where we find out we're gonna have to go and get some more Nazis in this movie because we hadn't really introduced them at this point. But we have to remember it's 1938; they're still around, and we're gonna have to battle them again. And it has the nice little line where he's just like, Nazis, I hate these guys.
Yeah.
And it's just
what's funny, like when he first shows up at the castle, he's pretending to be like a Scottish guy or something, like a Scottish lord.
That was funny.
With a pretty terrible Scottish accent, a pretty terrible like hearty tart.
It didn't even occur to me that like he was doing Scottish at first. I was like, oh wait, it would make sense. He was doing Scottish because his dad's Scottish, but it was pretty bad. So okay, you're trying to.
And then the butler's like, if you're a Scottish lord, then I'm Mickey Mouse, or like.
You know what the original line was? That's a changed line that they dubbed later. The original line, which actually would have made more sense for 1938, was, "If you're a Scottish lord, then I'm Jesse Owens." Which, if you know, Jesse Owens was the African American runner that at the Berlin Olympics in '36 won all those gold medals when the Nazis were in the stands, and did his little like fist, and they were not a fan of him. So that actually would have made more sense historically than the Mickey Mouse thing, and a better line in context of the movie. But it is what it is. But it's a funny little beat. But and then we pretty much finally get to Sean Connery in this movie. It takes a little while to get to him, about 45 minutes or so, but man, is it worth it? Because their chemistry is just, it's right there from the beginning, even with the little things where he breaks the thing and he thinks he's apologizing for hitting him, but he's just apologizing for breaking what he thinks is a Ming Dynasty pot or whatever. So it's pretty funny. Yeah,
he's like, it's a fake. You can tell by the cross section.
Whatever.
But like he just jumped to the window, and the first thing he does, just slam him with the vase, like immediately. It's like
I'm sorry, I thought you were one of them. He's like, Dad, they come through the front door, not the window.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But Richie, I know we just kind of get to him in this movie, but what do you think of Sean Connery in this movie? Like,
I thought he was great. He's sort of like playing against like the because obviously it's not he's playing against the James Bond type of like the stoic kind of
he's not a badass in this movie.
He's more of a nerdy like bumbling kind of comic relief kind of dude. But I thought he was really good, and the chemistry is really fun. And he has some of the better lines in this movie. And I think it was they had kind of established that like he even though Indy is great, he needed Henry for this, those certain intuitions that Henry had that, like, had he not been around Indy, might have been, but you know what I mean? Like we'll get to it, but he knew that, like, Alison Dooney's, he knew, like, she's
one of them. She's a Nazi.
One of them.
Yeah.
Well,
how did you know that? How did she know that, Richie? Or how did you know that? Did you catch the line?
I can't remember.
Because she talks in her sleep.
She talks in her sleep, which implies that they slept together. Which
like,
that's why Indy has this moment of going,
"Oh, that's
what?
right, yeah,
You slept with her?
Yeah, right.
What? So you guys both slept with the same chick? Yeah, and when it makes for a great moment when Elsa is whispering in Indy's ear and it goes, I had a great time or whatever she says, and then Sean Connery goes, yes, well, it was rather lovely.
Right.
And he answers, and Indy kind of looks back at him. But if you notice the way he delivers that line, it's very James Bond. That line is very straight. Oh yeah, it was rather lovely. Yeah. It makes for a great thing.
One of the funny things is that, or like not so much funny, but just kind of interesting, is that like Sean Connery just never seems like very impressed by like anything that like Indiana's doing. Like he like takes a bunch of guys with a machine gun and he's like, "What have you done?" And like he's just like, "Okay," and like he doesn't say like "good job" or like "great," like you saved us or like whatever. He's like, "Okay, I guess we're going here," and like he just seems kind of just like really unimpressed with like everything.
Well, and then during the motorcycle chase, after it's all over and he's taking all the motorcycle guys, he just like pulls out his pocket watch and he's like winding his watch and he's just kind of just he's very like, I wouldn't say he's unimpressed, he's just uninterested in that aspect of it.
Like, kind of uninterested.
He just wants to get the grail.
Get the grail back and go find the grail.
It doesn't care how he gets to it. It's like, oh, cool, you saved me. Cool, can we just get there?
Yeah, can we just move on with our day?
Right.
I'll just say one of my favorite lines before we moved on was I love the thing when Elsa kisses Indy.
I've been mentioned this.
That's how Austrians say goodbye. And he goes, the Vogel guy, the kind of commander guy, this is how we say goodbye in Germany, Dr. Jones. And he punches it.
And then he goes, I prefer the Austrian.
I like the Austrian way better. And even Sean Connery goes, so did I. So it's a great little line. They have a fun little back and forth that's very Young Frankenstein with the fireplace kind of going out. Him starting the fire on accident because he drops the lighter and tries to blow
he's like, grab my lighter, and then he immediately drops it and starts it.
And the time, and then they accidentally go through that bookcase.
the fireplace thing that has the little hidden door.
The fireplace.
The revolving fireplace.
That's good shit. No, it's
just like kind of like almost like kind of slapsticky, but like
it's very
like in a fun way though.
That's why I say Young Frankenstein. There's a sequence where he's got the same type of thing. It's like a bookcase that spins around and around. The same type of thing. It's very much an homage to like Young Frankenstein. I'm pretty sure about that.
But like that. They like spin to the other side, and then immediately there's a bunch of like Nazis or like whatever back there. He's like, okay, like go back the other way, and they're like trying to get to the other side, but it keeps going, it just keeps spinning.
Well,
on one side there's a roaring fire, the other side is Nazis. Which way do you go?
And we should note that this is where we finally find out that Julian Glover's with the Nazis, because he comes into that scene and he's like, I told you not to trust anybody, Dr. Jones. And and you find out that he's a full-on, he's basically the villain. So you kind of find that out. But they have to go after Marcus. And another, like you mentioned earlier, the great cut with him, saying Marcus speaks a dozen languages, he'll blend in, disappear, you'll never see him again. And you cut to him, just wandering around Cairo. Does anybody speak English? Does anybody understand a word? But we get to see Sala again, because Sala comes into the picture and kind of hooks up with Marcus, and it's fun to see Sala again. He's a fun character. He's got connections. He knows people, and he has the great moment where he's trying to tell Marcus to run from the Nazi guys, and he keeps going, "Oh, papers, of course. Morning edition, run. Pick it up every day, run." He's like telling him to run, he won't run. He's just not getting it. And then Marcus kind of bumbles his way into getting kidnapped again. As he does for most, because he's kind of the damsel in distress for most of the movie. Actually, he's not like screaming like Cape Capshaw, but he kind of becomes the damsel that they have to rescue like throughout the movie. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
We literally could have been like the companion. He could have been like the short round of this movie, just like the guy with him. I mean, he
kind of, but he's got Sean
sort
Connery
of is, but
yeah.
And also, I don't know if like short round can fight. I don't know if
Marcus can't fight. He's not a fighter. And we'll even talk about like the stuff inside the tank. It's very Three Stooges, them like defeating the Nazis inside the tank. Him and Connor, kind of fighting him off, just bumbling their way through the fight. He's not as suave as Indy. He can't throw a haymaker like Indy can.
Well, it's a cool scene, like when they escape from the room and that's on fire, and they're like, like running off and about to get on a boat, but then like he uses the boat as a decoy and he just turns it on and like sets it off the other way to kind of distract them. And then Sean Connery's like, "We're not going on the boat," and then they hop on the motorcycle with the little sidecar and they go on a cool chase with the motorcycle. But there's even a cool scene kind of after that where like they have a chance to just kind of just sit and talk about some family stuff too. And he talked about how his mom died of an illness and how like Indiana Jones never got to grieve properly and like some of the issues that like him and his father have, those kind of things. So I thought that was kind of cool to kind of get into some context about that, you know.
You kind of piece together what their relationship is like through the little moments throughout the movie. Just with the little lines that get dropped here and there, and with some inferences and a lot of facial expressions. And you don't get a lot. You just kind of get that Sean Connery was a workaholic when it came to like the Grail stuff and just focusing on his work, and he didn't really pay attention much to his wife and to Indy that much. But he kind of tries to spin it to be like, no, but I was a great father. I left you to do whatever you wanted to do, like, and just live your life. And he's like, yeah, but you weren't really there to be like a dad, though. Like, I kind of had to figure it out myself. And then he resorts with, he's like, you left just when you're starting to get interesting. Which I thought was so that was a good line. There's a good little back and forth, on the thing. We should say before we get to the Zeppelin sequence is Indy has a rather interesting face-off at the burning rally, and it's one of my favorite moments in the whole series when he has a literal face-to-face with Hitler.
With Hitler,
which is insane. Yeah, it's a great little moment because then they kind of play it for a laugh, but it's a very tension-filled moment when it actually happens when he's literally face-to-face. Even with the music, it's like dum 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 dum, when he actually does it. But you're like, holy crap, this is like the epitome of everything you fight against. Like, what's going to happen here? And they kind of make it into a kind of a punchline with him signing the Grail diary, with the thing. But it's a great scene. I love that whole sequence.
And it's interesting how like Hitler, like he doesn't realize that like probably like one of the things he's looking for is that Grail diary to like find that stuff.
It's called comedic irony, Jordan. That's what we do in these movies. He's signing away in a literal thing they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And I do like say once they get through everything on the motorbike, and then just Sean Connery happens to mention casually mentions, oh, by the way, need to go to Berlin.
Yeah. My diary's in Berlin.
My diary's in Berlin. I think you got to go through all these booby traps, but what are they? I can't remember.
I wrote them down so I wouldn't have to remember.
I wouldn't write them down so I wouldn't have to. Oh, but
yeah.
It's like we don't need it, but I forget like what his reasoning is why they don't need it, bro. But like,
well, no, he's just stuff like no. He said that they're saying we need to go get it because Indy goes, okay, well, what are the tests? How do we beat it? And he's like, well, we're gonna have 3 tests. He's like, well, what do we do? Well, I mean, I wrote down the answers in my diary, so I wouldn't have to remember. He's like, that's why we got to go get the diary because otherwise we're gonna be screwed when we get there. Like essentially, right. Yeah, that's the idea. And but then they get to do that and then go get Marcus. But yeah. So they do that, and then this is where the Zeppelin sequence, the no ticket sequence,
Zeppelin's awesome,
is where there was a deleted fight with Pat Roach, the guy that he fought in the first 2 movies. The big guy on the plane, the big dude in the mines. Because if you notice, when Vogel, the colonel guy, is running to go get on the Zeppelin. There's a guy with him, a big bald dude with a mustache, and that's Pat Roach. And there was a deleted sequence where he had a quick fight with Pat Roach when he goes back to take the uniform of the waiter dude or whatever. He had a mini fight with Pat Roach. So you're supposed to complete the trilogy of Pat Roach fights. But
like he would have been like the who's the guy that's in all the Marvel movies? He would have been the Wong of the Indiana Jones, like the guy that should have been like every single one.
Technically, he's on screen in the movie, but he does not have a fight because it was deleted. Because it was kind of unnecessary. It would have broken. You don't need a fight scene there. I think it's enough that he does the no ticket bit, and throws him out the window. I think that's enough of a bit. You don't really need a fight scene there. We just kind of had an action sequence. But you get a lot of more stuff on the Zeppelin with him and his dad, kind of doing the chit chat about their family life. And it's a great sequence where he's just like, we never got to talk about anything. He's like, all right, we got time. What do you want to talk about? And he's like, it's that whole thing where you're on the spot. It's like, I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know right now. He's like, what are you complaining about? Let's just talk about the Grail. And it's that perfect moment of like, what Indy's saying, but at the same time, Connery's is like, what? What's the problem? We're talking right now. Yeah, it's just great little chemistry. Like those guys know how to play it just right. Oh, any thoughts about that?
Yep. And then you get the whole like assaulting the guy and punching him out, like the no ticket. He didn't have a ticket or whatever. He's like, tickets, please. Yeah. When he's like gets the uniform and pretends to be one of the guys working.
So Richie, now you know where that sequence in Dogma comes from.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Remember when Silent Bob throws Ben Affleck and Matt Damon off the train and then says no ticket?
No ticket. Okay. Yeah. Now I got a point of reference for it. Okay.
There you go. Because I figured you've seen Dogma. I know you've seen Dogma.
I've seen Dogma.
So there you go. That's the no ticket reference. But and then you get a little plane sort of
the jump
sequence. Where they're he knows how to fly land no. That's a good thing right before he hooks the plane.
Yeah. Then you have Sean Connery using the machine gun and shooting out the back of it and stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Shoots out his own plane. He says we got us, and then there's a great little exchange once they're on the ground where Sean goes, it's a fairly new experience for me, people trying to kill me. He's like, it happens to me all the time, Dad. Let's go. It's just, again, all these great little back and forths in the middle of these actually.
Right.
Great comedic bit in the with the guy in the plane when they get into the tunnel and the guy gets his wings ripped off and he's sliding in the tunnel and you see the pilot guy just kind of looking at the
That was a cool action sequence. That looked really cool, but also looked funny. It's just like,
and the conclusion of it gives a great bit where Henry Jones Sr. gets to save the day by doing the plane bit with the umbrella and the seagulls.
The seagulls
it's great.
And he takes out the plane.
He gets to have a little a great little bit where he kind of saves the day and pulls the Charlemagne quote, let my armies be the rocks and the trees and the birds in the sky. And it's a great little bit. And he kind of gives him this, again, it's great acting. Harrison Ford kind of gives him this look where he just kind of looking at him and he just kind of smirks a little bit, and just like, okay, respect. you earned my respect in that one. Like, good job. And it's just a nice little moment. They hit the music a little bit and it's great. And they catch up with the Nazis who are over in Jordan, and they're and we get this whole, which is kind of the big the truck chase, if you will, from Raiders is kind of the big action set piece of Raiders. In the minecart of Temple, we get this big tank sequence, which is kind of the big actions. Basically it's a lot like Raiders because you have this big action climax with like the truck, but then you have this stuff with the actual arc, and it's very similar to this where you have the big truck or tank action sequence, and then in the smaller sort of climax with the Grail, in the temple. So it's very similar to that. But we'll talk about the tank sequence. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think with the tank sequence too, Harrison Ford, he actually did quite a bit of his own stunt work too, like the scene where his face is being pressed almost down to the wheel and like almost getting grinded by the wheel thing, and then when he's hanging on the side in between the like tank and the wall where he's almost crushed there. So he's doing some of his own stunts, which is cool. So, but like some really tense stuff. But then you even have some comedic moments because you have a Brody inside the tank with like some lines like with like saying like the whole like the pen is mightier than the sword or like whatever in there. So it's a fun scenes. So
has one of my favorite actual individual stunts where I don't know if Richie you noticed there's a stunt where it goes up this kind of hill parallel to the tank, and then Indy jumps off the horse and down onto the moving tank, stomach first. It's one of the most amazing, like when you break it down, like one of the most amazing stunts I've ever seen ever. It's incredible because the dude had to literally match the speed, and they had to jump like a 15-foot gap, down onto the tank, and that's just a real dude jumping onto a moving tank from a horse. It's insane.
From a horse,
it's kind of nuts. Think about it.
Yeah, the room for error is
very small.
Very small. on a lot
very
of that
small.
stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, that is amazing. Like imagine like trying to, if you're, like if you're like the stunt like men's like wife, whatever. Oh, but they want me to do a stunt, right? I'm gonna jump from a horse into a
Well,
tank.
not just next to a tank, above like
Above,
15 feet
above a
above the
tank,
tank.
yeah, above a tank. I'm
Yeah.
gonna jump above it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like you're gonna die. No, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Look, I really don't think, no, I'll be fine. And then that happens. Like, wow, okay. Look, I'll just let you do whatever you want to do now. Okay.
Yeah. Because if the horse, hesitates for any reason, and he jumps too late or, too early or whatever, maybe he hits the treads and rolls off, or he doesn't get far enough and hits the back of the tank and rolls off, or doesn't hit it at all and just jumps and, hits the ground and splats on the ground. I mean, he might not die. You could get very, very injured. Doing that. And it's great. Even the stuff where indies, and obviously it's a lot of stunt people on the actual horse when the tank is shooting all the cartridges, and it's like blowing up in front of the horse and all over the place. Like it's still pretty great, even just good horse stunt work, I'll say, with these horses.
Yeah, because horses, like animals in general, like horses can be unpredictable. Like like you'd you'd like I don't know how you'd do it that like just completely spooking the horse and like just like you could just shoot every chance you could just like shook Harrison Ford off and you could end up with like a Christopher Reeve situation. But yeah, like it's or the stuntman in this case, not Christopher, but what I mean. But it's it is amazing, like those practical things. Yeah, I do wish, I mean, I get why we don't see as much, but yeah, I mean that's why I guess it's sort of a fresh air with like Mission Impossible movies and stuff. You see, I do feel iffy about it sometimes where I'm like, where you're like, oh man, like it's cool that Tom Cruise is doing his own stunts, but man,
he literally could die. He literally could die. Yeah, if his parachute doesn't open on one of his 10 base jumps that he does, he's dead, and we don't have Tom Cruise with us anymore. There's no more Tom Cruise. That's why most insurance companies won't even do it. He has to have like his own thing as a producer to like insure him. But yeah, I mean, literally, if his parachute doesn't open, we don't have Tom Cruise with us anymore. No more Mission Impossible. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but I mean, these stunt guys go through the same thing. I mean, if something goes wrong, these guys can get seriously injured and seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good sequence. Has a great button where Indy just narrowly escapes. They think he's dead. They're all looking over the cliff, thinking he's gone, and then he climbs up.
The tank goes off the cliff.
But he's looking over the cliff too, and just completely exhausted and out of breath. And Sean Connery has a little moment with him where he's actually hugging him. He's kind of embracing it, and then he's just like, "All right, let's keep going. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Why are you resting?"
That was kind of that was one of the cool emotional moments when it was like, yeah, okay, like I'm gonna act emotionally distant for the whole movie, and like, and then when I finally realized, when I finally realized, what I had is now gone, I'm gonna I break down, and then but then he just sort of comes up behind him, and is like, what's going on? And then just that moment of relief when he realizes, oh, you're still. Yeah, I think that was a sort of a special moment. I think he kind of came full circle and realized, kind of really what that he he probably should, that what he really meant to him, sort of thing. And that he should. Yeah.
Well, he's relieved that his son's okay, but then like literally like a few seconds later, he just like almost
again, like maybe after the this quest is over, like he could be properly, but he does have a one-track mind at the end of the day too. He's like, okay, yeah, cool. I had that emotional moment.
All right, now let's keep going. Yeah, come on. Why are you resting? And he's just completely exhausted. Like he doesn't even want to. Obviously, he's exhausted. But it has another great moment where he lost his hat, but then the hat kind of blows back into the frame, and it's great. Like he gets he always gets that hat back. Never quite loses it.
I think that Indy's so shocked by what happened. He doesn't even know what to say. He just walks up there. He's like, "Well, I'm alive," but like he doesn't know what to say, so he just kind of stands there. And they look over and like, "Oh, like he's alive." Okay. So yeah.
But we move on to the end of the quest. We get to the canyon of the Crescent Moon, and we get into this temple where we see many heads have rolled, literally trying to go get this go get this grail. Like literally, dudes have been getting their heads chopped off left and right from these stalls, which is
See how
kind
the
of
booby trap.
PG-13, right?
What's that?
Is it still PG-13? This movie?
This is a PG-13 movie because there's no blood on those heads that roll around. But yeah,
but it's still fun,
there really should be blood everywhere. rolling around.
Yeah, you see the saw blades that, like pop up and like cut the guy's head off. Yeah,
but
like,
I wanted to mention this has
That's
one of my
intense.
favorite kind of savage villain moments, though. Why Julian Glover, he's able to turn it on a dime when Indy goes, he's pointing the gun at him, telling him to go get the Grail, and he's like, "Shooting me won't get you anywhere." And he's like, "You know something, Dr. Jones? You're absolutely right." Bang, and shoots Sean Connery. Like, holy shit, that's a savage moment. That's such a savage moment. Yeah.
I don't know if it was like, told to me, so I kind of, but I kind of, when he said that line, like, "You're not shooting me, he's not going to do anything," I kind of just thought, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, well then he's gonna. I thought in my head, I'm like, okay, then he's going to shoot the dad. I just had that thing in my head. I'm like, okay, the villainous thing to do would be like to, but yeah, that was still cool. Just like, yeah, just not even flinching. Just okay, boom.
Just turns it slightly and just shoots him in the gut. Yeah, it's a very savage moment. And he's just like, you can't save him if you're dead. Yeah, just force him into a no-win situation. Yeah, and to where, because obviously, if they'd been there, they probably would have both gone in either together or, Indy would have taken the lead, but, Sean Connery would probably gone right behind him, into the thing because he knows the, all the Grail stuff. But yeah, he has to kind of use, again, it's similar to Raiders. He has to use his brain, for the final thing instead of using his muscles for the most part. And yeah, he ends up, outsmarting the booby traps and of course goes to the saws and the Jehovah thing, and
the whole sequence sort of like going through these booby traps remind me of like a Crash Bandicoot level.
Oh yeah, I gotta jump onto this thing to step over here, step on this thing, and then cross the bridge. Yeah, no, it's very.
I'm sure some of the level design was inspired by these movies, but
sure. Well, there's sequences in those games where you're running towards the screen where something is chasing you, almost like the ball and Raiders and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has he has the great moment with the leap of faith, like that's good, where he steps on the kind of the optical illusion bridge, there, and that's good. And if you notice closely,
the thing that's kind of camouflaged.
Donovan and Elson are watching in the background. You can see them in the background, like peeking around the corners. So that's how they know how to get through. They're watching. If you look closely, you see a couple of shots of them kind of spying on him, like looking at him. Makes you wonder, like, how did they get through the Jehovah thing? They were watching. They're right there. So they saw him. But yeah, you get to Robert Edison, who's one of my favorite little characters in this movie, as the Grail Knight. He's awesome. He is so good in this movie. Every line delivery he does is so impactful. He's great. I love this dude. The Grail Knight. The Grail Knight's the best. I mean, how do you not love, he chose poorly? Or you
he chose wisely.
Yeah,
poorly,
he chose poorly. It's so good. This guy who's literally like, because of the the thing keeping him alive, he's like 900 years old or something. Just sitting in this room. It's kind of nuts. But
initially he tried to. But didn't he tried to fight Indy, but he was like, ding. It's like, ding. Oh,
he tries to swing this giant sword, but he's so weak he just like falls over.
My stream says my stream says gone. My stream says gone. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Bing. It was just ding.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense when he finally when Indiana has to pick the right cup to drink from, because like it's just common sense. Like it'd be the old one if it's from the time of Jesus. It's like well, there's gonna be an old cup. It's not gonna be something shiny and new, So just kind of like just Indy using more logic to just kind of just out.
Well, and we should say Elsa pulling the tweener move again and picking out, the wrong Grail for Donovan to sit from and meet his demise. And it's a fairly, it's a very stop motion demise, but it's still pretty gnarly right up there.
Yeah, he looked like one of the mummies from The Mummy.
Yeah, the effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a reverse thing. I think is what they did. They had some makeup, and then it obviously transitions to like a stop motion thing of him, aging rapidly, obviously, and rotting out immediately with the heat chose poorly thing. It's a great button, and he picks out the Grail, and he's able to save his dad, and then we get the kind of earthquake thing because they try to Elsa tries to take it out of the temple, which you can't do. That's the price of immortality. You can live forever, but you can't leave this place. That's the price of it. Which sucks. It's a nice little caveat there. But yeah, and she meets her demise because we forget she's a villain too. She got to go.
She falls on. She's like, well, she tries to reach the Grail, and also, but while also, so it's like, and so while trying to reach the Grail, she lets go of Indy's hand, and she just falls to her death
into the abyss. Yeah.
And then Indy almost falls down too, and the Grail falls down, and he's going for the Grail, and he's like, just leave it. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not that important. So
it's a great moment between father and son because he's telling him, give me your other hand, and he stops and he goes, Indiana, which he's called him Junior the entire movie, but he calls him Indiana, and he stops and looks and calls him Indiana. It's a nice little moment.
Yeah.
And he grabs his hand and he pulls him out and he tells him to let it go. And
let it go.
Let it go. And it's the first time he's had to let it go because it's a callback to the beginning of the movie where he hasn't let cross the Coronado go. He's been chasing it his whole life, and this is the other thing he finally gets, and he has to let it go. So it's a nice little full circle moment. Yeah.
And I wanted to point out too, like the score, especially like during the whole Grail sequence, like that's one of my favorite pieces of music from John Williams. Like, it's a really cool score. The like da na 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 na, like the whole like that, and then transition to it, like right after when everything's collapsing. You go right back into that Indiana Jones score, just right back into it. So,
and you get a nice little moment with the Grail Knight where he waves at him as the thing is collapsing. Yeah. And I think even that dude, I was thinking about it today. I think even that dude is just happy that he's going to die.
Yeah,
he's been sitting in that temple for like 900 years. I think he's ready to go. I think it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm kind of ready to leave this place and die. So I think he's ready. So even he's like,
over it. Yeah,
it's almost like a thank you for like letting me go. Because I would probably be ready.
Let me rest in peace.
Well. Yeah, let me rest in peace and go join my Grail brothers or whatever. But yeah, and then we get a great moment where we find out that Indiana was named after the dog.
The dog.
And some other
for my little quote here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
and we get the perfect ending, or at least I thought, obviously most people agree, was the perfect ending to the Indiana Jones trilogy, and we just had to ruin it with two other movies. Literally Marcus, Sala, Henry Jones Jr. and Henry
riding
Jones
off into
Jr.
the sunset.
Literally riding off into the sunset to another adventure. That's all we needed. I was so happy. Like, that's a great ending. It's like they all connect together. All these friends, they've gone off on their adventures, and it's time to reconnect and ride off into the sunset. And it's like a perfect ending. We kick on the music, and it's great. Like, they should have just, God damn it, they should have just ended it right here. We'd all be better off. It would be a perfect trilogy. Yeah.
It would have been perfect that way. But just a couple like little fun facts about the movie that Siskel and Ebert famously, they didn't really like the original premise for the movie. They didn't like it being so based in the Bible, I guess. It was like a whole thing. Like, if you watch their review on it, they weren't a huge fan of like it originally, but they said that it grew on them, and they eventually, like, later on went back and gave it a higher score, which is kind of interesting. But yeah. And then also too, this is just like something that I kind of found out. So going into the Crystal Skull, so before they were gonna make the Crystal Skull, they were gonna have a fourth movie that was gonna be Indiana Jones and the Lost City or something like that.
I think they were gonna do the Fate of Atlantis. They were gonna do an Atlantis thing at one point.
Yeah. So
I heard about that.
Yeah.
And I was reading some of the script, and like, it would have been way better than what we got with the Crystal Skull. Like, it does still have some of the cheesy stuff. It has the like fridge, like we're hiding in the fridge. It has swinging with the monkeys. It has all that stuff. But like some of the dialogue and other moments that go with it kind of make it feel a little less hokey, and the dialogue's way better. And there's no Shia LaBeouf as Mutt. You get a tougher and cooler Marion than what we actually get from that movie. They have all kinds of callbacks, like Raiders, and stuff. They even cut out a few action scenes from Crystal Skull that, like, there's supposed to be like a cool airplane fight scene where he's with the Russians, and and he's fighting on the wings of a biplane, and then he has another rooftop scene where he's fighting a Russian assassin. You get a little cameo from Sean Connery. There's even a scene that they had where Indiana Jones gets swallowed by a giant anaconda. There's like a whole scene with that, but they never went through with that. And like all of that, I think would have been awesome. But we got, unfortunately, what we got with the Crystal Skull, and I'm just like, whatever.
Well,
it's fine.
We should mention after Last Crusade, they did do the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles with Sean Patrick Flannery, one of the Saints, who starred as him. And they were actually going to use. They had discussed using River Phoenix and bringing him back, which would have been awesome to use him for a TV show. Like I would have watched a weekly thing of River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones, and that would have been great. But his drug overdose and his death, put a kibosh on that, unfortunately. But that would have been fantastic, like to keep that going with River Phoenix. I think that was very well received from the movie to have like a TV show with him. I think that would be totally cool. And I was fine with them doing like a young TV show because that doesn't affect the trilogy at all. But the Crystal Skull thing, obviously. Richie hasn't seen it, but it's disappointing to say the least.
I'm not going to say that's the worst movie ever made, but
it's not like the worst thing ever. But it's just like it doesn't even come close, in my opinion. I get baffled with these other people that put it like above like Temple of Doom and shit. Like
it's not mentioning any names. Malcolm,
exactly.
And I'm just like, what are you talking about, dude? That movie's like not good. It's not the worst thing ever, but like it's not good. It's just corny and cheesy and bad effects and all kind. It's just bad. So in my mind, yes, there's just a trilogy. It's Raiders, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and Indiana Jones rode off into the sunset, and we never saw him again.
Yep, and that was it.
That was it.
We never heard from him again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of young Indiana Jones, I think that just dropped on Disney Plus a couple months ago, and it's the first time I think that it's been available, at least for streaming anywhere. I don't know if it's ever been released on like physical
it was
media.
on DVD, but they were kind of crummy DVDs from like years ago. Like they were kind of hard to find. They only made a limited amount of them because even I don't know them, and I'm a physical media guy. But it's on there, and I've heard decent things about it. It's a decent TV show, and Indiana Jones does make.
I've seen a lot of it, when it aired on TV.
Harrison Ford does make one quick appearance on the show where he's like by a fireplace, kind of reading something, and it calls back to an episode, and then they jump into an episode. It's at the beginning of an episode, but that's it. But
nice.
So it's just a cameo more than anything. That's fine. So we're at the hour mark. So let's wrap this thing up with overall thoughts on it. Richie, give us your overall thoughts on the movie and how do you think it, fared in the trilogy or whatever. So
I definitely think that as we're going into it, I definitely just think this was the most entertaining one. Like it's in terms of just character, I think the dynamic between Indy and Henry is I think is top notch. And I like the different dynamic. Like that Indy doesn't really have a love interest. He does. Like, I like how that his love interest is different. And the action sequences are there, but I just this movie feels like a sort of a total package, if you will, I really enjoy it. I don't know where it sits on the top on the 3. I'll probably have to watch. I don't have to rewatch to have my kind of ranking. And maybe I'm sure. When I watch, when I watch Dial Destiny, it's not gonna. That's not gonna have any bearing on these 3.
On this ranking,
It might have a bearing on. If I watch King of Crystal Skull at some point. I
do think you should watch Crystal Skull just to be part of the conversation at some point.
Really
say you've seen it, and so you could appreciate even this close. Watch that one, and it'll make you appreciate these first 3 even more, Richie. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I will. And
you watch it to prep for the best movies of 2008 when we get there on tournament fights. So you can watch it for that.
I'm going to watch it at some point. So I know it's available, so I'll watch it. It's on Disney Plus for me. So I'll check it out. But this is definitely entertaining. And like at the end of the day, it could end up being my favorite. I have to think about it. But they both bring something different to the table. I think in terms of stunts, I think the Raiders blows me away. But in terms of sort of something really different and that's very kind of in terms of ballsy, I like Temple of Doom, and but in terms of just in terms of character work and just like overall entertainment, I do like.
I think this is the most like popcorn entertainment one of the three. You know what I mean? Just like very good pace. Enough comedic stuff in there to kind of keep the mood sort of light. Yeah, there's nothing too heavy. It's very popcorny.
Yeah. So
for me, I think it's the best written of the three for me because like you have like really heartfelt moments, you have comedic moments, like you say, and then you have like some really good action scenes, and like everything just pieces together really well compared to the other ones. Whereas like Raiders for me is like more like iconic, and like you have the best stunt scenes for me. You have the best the love interest with Marion and that kind of thing, and then you have Temple of Doom, just kind of bringing like more of the goofy and the silliness, but also some horror stuff. So kind of back and forth with those types of things. So yeah.
No, it's and like I said, it's currently my favorite. Like I said, for a while it was the other two at any given point. But yeah, this one's solidly my favorite at the one. Yeah, because I just think the pacing is great. I think you get like Richie said, a lot of great character work in this one. Expanding more on Indy, spending more on Marcus and Sala, and and just the relationship with his dad. And yeah, come on, how do you not love Sean Connery and Harrison Ford's chemistry in this movie? It's so great. One of the best sort of movie duos, speaking of movie duos that we did recently, just a great movie duo, back and forth with those guys, a great dynamic. Sean Connery, he's not totally bumbling all the time. He gets his heroic moments. He gets those moments to shine, and he gets those moments where he uses his brain, and he knows things that he doesn't, and they bounce back and forth really well. And it offers a different sort of leading lady, a different dynamic and a different, villain. But yeah, it may be the weakest villain out of the three. I think I might like Richie, like Molaram and Belloc a little bit more. Just overall. But Julian Glover's still, having fun. The turn of him is fun, because Belloc is kind of a he's a villain from the beginning, middle and end. Molaram is a villain as soon as he shows up halfway through the movie, and Julian Glover kind of starts out as you don't know, maybe a friendly guy, and he kind of makes a turn. So again, it's still different than the other two, which is nice. But yeah, it has great action. Again, great use of music with John Williams. Like he makes it different enough while still having those main themes, which are great. Yeah, each one of these scores you can listen to, and you have the main theme and worked into all of them, but they all have very different music. It's really great. You can listen to it back to back, and you wouldn't hear the same thing, over again at all. I think they're all great. And yeah, it's some of his best work, and great Spielberg, man, good stuff. So
may end up maybe being like the weakest villain of even all of them, because even with Crystal Skull, you have Cate Blanchett. I mean, she's a good villain, and for what the movie is, I mean, like it's not that great, but I liked her as a villain. And then I hear, and in this one, I haven't seen the Thou Destiny, but it's Mads Mikkelsen, so I mean, he's always good. So I mean. So yeah,
we'll see. But his best work is not in these big franchise movies.
He wasn't a great villain in Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, he's kind of forgettable in these big movies. Like he's better when he's.
I haven't seen
like his Hannibal on TV is great. And he's
that's great.
And good in these smaller movies, but I feel like when they put him in these big movies, he's kind of bland. I don't know. He could be doing better work, but I don't know.
We'll find out. I mean, once we see it, because I'm going to see it tomorrow. I'm going to get everything ready to roll for our show tomorrow, and then that way I can go see it, and then we'll have tournament fights tomorrow, it'll be tier ranker. It'll be tier ranker for our animation championship. So we got that going on tomorrow. So.
All right.
So but that'll do it for us. Yeah. So probably next month. I mean, I haven't decided. Like we've been kind of doing it these weekly, but I may end up going either monthly or like bi-monthly, something like that. And we go back to spinning the wheel, and I'll have some YouTube shorts that'll have me spinning the wheel and whatever pops up. You may see some new faces.
We promise the next one will be an actual wheel spin. We promise.
Yeah.
I know we kind of did a deep dive on it. In honor of Richie, and I'm glad he's seen these movies. So now when they come up on tournament fights, you can.
I'll be able to.
Hey, I've seen that movie. I can talk about it. I can comment.
Yeah.
And compare it to other movies. Yeah, it's great. So
what's going to happen?
No, I was going to say, thanks, Richie, for taking this ride with us, man. It was cool to hear somebody who hadn't seen him before. It's always fun. And again, I get envious of people because I've seen this movie 300 times. Probably in that ballpark. To see somebody who's seeing it for the first time is pretty cool and gets to see and doesn't know where it's going or what might happen from scene to scene is pretty cool. So
it was good. It was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed them.
Yeah,
I gave them all the same score, even though I probably like one more than the other, but they're all sort of four.
Oh, they're all good. Yeah, they're all great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the Brian Regan bit that me and Jordan do. Grape. They're all favorites, but if I had to pick one, I pick Grape though. Just a little more favorite.
Still favorite. Cherry's favorite,
still favorite.
But also Grape. Yeah. But yeah, and usually for me, I like to give these scores. So Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, it gets a 9 out of 10 for me. It's a near perfect movie, and maybe not quite, but it's almost there. It's really, really close. So yeah, I'm pretty picky about what I give a 10 out of 10 to. But it'll be funny. Just watch the next wheel spin. It's gonna be the first Mission Impossible movie, and then Jacob Barber hasn't seen him, so we got to watch them all with him or something.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. We're gonna cover that franchise on our show, so you won't have to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So if that one comes up, we can just do that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless somebody in our group, if it's like a movie and a sequel or something, and somebody hasn't seen them, maybe we'll do that. But yeah, other than that, it'll just be the one-offs probably. So yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah. Well, cool. So yeah, that'll do it. So we'll just do some quick plugs real quick. Richie, what do you have going on? Where can we find you?
Lonely Monks right after this.
After this, about 5 minutes after this is over. Yes.
Yeah. Right after this, talking. I'm talking Forbidden Door, Money to Make predictions. Just me, Austin, and Jordan. And unfortunately, Jacob's unwell. All wishes to him. We're doing that, and then Tournament Fest here rank. I'll be on that at some stage. And then to my podcast on the streaming, we'll get back to it at some point. Just life got in the way, but we'll get back to it, and I'll upload Chopping Mall at some point. In the meantime, Lonely Marks. So.
Yeah, sounds good. And Austin, you got Lonely Marks too, but
Lonely Marks.
Well,
I'll be kind of guest hosting tonight for Jacob, and then but speaking of me and Jacob, he should be back ready to go by Saturday. We'll be doing me and him probably about 7:00 Eastern, about an hour later than we usually go. But we'll be doing a podcast about movies, talking about sort of the year so far in movies, kind of a halfway through the year recap. We'll just be talking about some of our favorites so far, maybe some of our biggest surprises of the year so far, and also just add in there our discoveries of the year so far. So any kind of older movies we've watched that we want to recommend or talk about, we'll be talking about that as well. So you'll get some new recommendations and old recommendations as well. So tune in for a podcast about movies. That should be fun. Me and Wolfman might be doing our room drinking game right after that. I don't know. He's kind of hasn't really got back to me on that. We might. We'll see. So I could be getting drunk to the room later that evening. And I might be doing JPO on the Pierce Coast Sunday night at 10. Speaking of Indiana Jones, Indie Trivia. And I'm ready to wipe the floor with everybody because I know all three of these movies front to back, easy. So every line of dialogue. So we'll see. I may have to brush up and watch Crystal Skull again, unfortunately, but to brush up on that one. But these movies I got unlocked, no problem there. So but that's about all I got because I'll be going out of town next week. So that's most of the immediate future. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so I was gonna jump on for the podcast with Austin and Jacob, but I'm going out of town for the weekend only. So I'll be out of town this weekend and next weekend, but I'll be here during the week. So everything during the week will for the channel will just happen as scheduled. So in light of that, I still wanted to talk about the halfway point. So me and Malcolm, at least we'd like to get one other person, probably Chris Scott. I'm waiting to get his schedule. So as soon as he sends me that, we're going to do our top 12 of the year, just a quick little podcast episode, just breaking down our top 12 of 2023 so far. Probably going to be Wednesday night is what we're looking at. So, but just follow our social media. You can find all the social media down in the description. We'll announce when it's going to be, and you can follow us at Movie Hero 2121 on Twitter and Instagram, or go to the Schmodown Friends and Family group on Facebook. And just a couple of episodes we have coming up just this week. We will be doing. We already mentioned our animation tier ranker. We did a decade series where we broke down every single decade, and then a couple of them we had to cut in 2 parts. And so the top 10 from every episode. We're going to be doing our championship episode, so it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be not easy to narrow it down. I still got a couple that I got to watch. They're both anime ones. I still haven't seen Your Name, and I saw My Neighbor Totoro like when I was a kid, basically. So I want to try to rewatch that. I'm not a big anime guy, so we'll see if I actually like them. There's a few rare ones I like, but not a lot. So we'll see. But and then next week we'll be doing some geography based episodes. Best movies with a state, or no. First will be best movies with a city in the title, and then on Friday will be best movies with a state in the title. And the state one will just be a half bracket because there wasn't quite so many movies with the state in the title. There's a lot with cities in the title though, so we had to be picky for that one. So that's just what's coming up in the immediate future. We'll be getting back to some trivia too. I decided that I'm going to wait a week since we have some people out of town and that type of thing. But probably you'll see trivia about 2 weeks roughly from now. So just watch for that. So
All right.
So, but yeah, that'll do it. So thanks again, guys. Indiana Jones, awesome. This the 3 movies that they had, and then it ended. So that was great. So yeah, and then we have a new one in theaters, I guess. So we'll see how that one pans out. But yeah, but let's see if I find my little outro. Here we go. For Richie, for Austin, I've been Jordan, the movie hero Anderson, and we will see you guys next time.